Hi, everyone. My name is Idowu Akinde. Everyone calls me ID. Welcome to, now this is the second to the last, episode 11 in series 4 of our Dear Founder Startup Building series for YouTube. In the penultimate, in the last episode, we described the first of two methods for arriving at a logical, reasonable, plausible, empirical valuation figure for an early stage startup. And in this video, in this episode, we're going to discuss the second method, which is the potential value at exit method. So the first method was a benchmark or scorecard method, and this one is a potential value at exit method. Without much further ado, let me get out of your face and we can get cracking quickly. So we discussed the benchmark method already. We took quite some time on the browser. We went away from the slides, went to the browser, and then we came back. This time around, we're going to discuss the potential value at exit method. Again, just like the previous one, right? We're going to use a set of assumptions, and then we'll build on those assumptions, to arrive at some kind of approximate, non-exact, estimated valuation for your early stage startup. So let's do that now. Okay. Let's just go to the browser. Okay, and then we'll come back to the slides. It will be much more visible that way. This is the browser. Where are you? Google Chrome. There you are. All right. So it's already at this zoom level. Let's just go to the next tab, the next tab, which is the potential value at exit method. So this method also has a set of associated assumptions. Okay. So what you're doing here is you think as an investor now, what are you trying to do as a founder with information like this? You're essentially trying to role play as an investor, as an angel, before you have the meeting with the angel. So that by the time you have the meeting with the angel, you can have the upper hand. You can have you can maybe not the upper hand, but you can have some advantage in that conversation. You can have some leverage in that conversation, knowing what the angel is thinking, what the investor is thinking, rather than the alternative of going blind into that meeting, not knowing the tools, techniques, tips, tricks, methods that the investor uses to arrive at a valuation figure. So that when you guys are having a conversation around valuation, I think my valuation is 5 million. No, I think you have 500,000. You want to have a way to counter those arguments and, be reasonable. So assumption one, the average company, okay, in this example, I deliberately just put something random there, fintech, the average company that has been acquired, okay, or that has experienced an exit in this, maybe acquired or IPO'd in this region, okay, so I just used buyout here, fintech buyout here, but the average worth of the transaction that represented the exit for a startup in this region, let's say in Africa, occurred for $200 million. Okay, and I'm using Paystack as an example that really that is no longer news. Second assumption: the average valuation of such a startup, okay, during such exit events in our region, using the data available, usually people get buyouts of 200 million at a $2 billion valuation. I don't know what Paystack's valuation is. I'm just using these numbers, just for the purpose of conversation. The current valuation of our startup, our own startup. Now, this first two assumptions are market assumptions. Market are about the market, external factors. The third one here is about us. Okay, the startup that we're trying to arrive at a valuation for. Our current valuation, let's just say that we have something in the region of 2 million or 1 million or 3 million or 5 million, or some 2.5, whatever the figure is, right? And then this is the framework for the potential value at exit method. How does it work? we state the same figure that we had here, which is a 2 billion. That's this valuation of average similar startup when it exited, when it experienced the exit event or the liquidity event, whatever that is. The current valuation of our startup, okay, $2 million. That's this, okay. Represent that there. Whatever your value is, please replace with these values. The projected valuation of our startup at exit. Now, this is where you want to, again, this is that method that you use when you don't have as many variables at your fingertips to play with as the other method, the scorecard method. So in this case, you are saying, when at the time when the average company that exited in our region exited, they were worth 2 billion. Realistically, what do we think we will be worth when we are being exited? If we happen to find ourselves in exactly the same situation. If you feel like the same 2 billion is worth what you are worth, then by all means, put that in here where I have 50 million, okay? But what I did here was to say, I think that this current startup that is currently valued at $2 million, at exit, $50 million would be something reasonable, okay? That's just my opinion, okay? And, anybody can differ with that or have a different opinion. Now, we're saying one more piece of information. What is the minimum expected valuation multiple? By how many times should our startup that is worth $2 million, by how many times should it have multiplied in order for us to, by how many times should it have multiplied in order for us to be happy with this investment if we are walking away with a check at the exit event? So we're currently worth 2 million. If we get to a stage sometime in the future where somebody offers us $20 million, is that a good exit event for us? That's actually where we are going to. But how do you determine that? You need to find out what your own minimum expected valuation multiple is. So if you say your minimum expected valuation multiple is 20x, that means at today's valuation of $2 million, you are not expecting to accept any exits, buyout, merger and acquisition, buyout value less than $40 million. That's what you're saying. You're saying when you're walking away from this deal, from this startup, you want to walk away with $40 million because you're putting in $2 million and you're saying that your expected valuation multiple is 20x. If that is the case, then you put your 20x here. Okay. So like I said earlier, if we ask ourselves the questions internally as an angel organization or as startups or as angels, as investors, and we say, no, let our valuation, expected valuation multiple not be 10x, let it be 25x. Whatever that number is, please put it in that box, okay? Minimum expected valuation multiple, okay? It goes in that box. And then you do a simple calculation, a simple division of the projected valuation of our startup at exit divided by our current valuation. You get this, okay, which gives you 25x. And then you compare your 25x against the 20x, which is the minimum that you want. If you're expecting 25x and you get a 25x, that's a good deal. And then you can walk away. So the results, the interpretation of these numbers is to say that if you compare the projected expected valuation multiple to the minimum expected valuation multiple, you should have a situation where the projected is greater than the minimum. If that is the case, then you are in a good place. Greater than or equal to, then you are in a good place. If not, then, so this can be a way to, so you can keep on playing with these numbers until you find a sweet spot number that this is good for. So you want to start with 2 million, you're going to 50 million, or you want to start with 2 million, you're going to 100 million. That means 2 to 100 is 50x, right? So, 50x is unreasonable. So let's start with 4 million, which gives us our 25x, okay? Whatever that is, so you see the point. Or no, we don't have a 4 million ticket size. Sorry. We don't think 4 million is appropriate for this region. How about 1 million instead, right? And we have a 25 million buyout valuation, projected buyout valuation. Whatever that case is, you can justify it if you can explain it and if you can explain your reasoning behind that. So these are the two main methods for early stage startup valuation in those days of your startup journey where you don't have empirical data to support the more formal methods. And let's just round up this episode quickly. Pretty much that's what we have here. So if you look here, you'll see a screenshot of the same thing. As I said earlier, the link is available. Please use that link. When you get to the Google Drive, Google Sheets, just duplicate it, make a copy, and go use it on your own system, on your own drive, offline and online. And that is good. So that's the potential value at exit method. Thank you very much for tolerating my hallucinations. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.